Right, yeah, so we have a quorum present. In the room with me are Arthur Doyle, Ron Israel, and Alex Hasha, that's three people. And on Zoom, we have Matt Nucci, Stephen Popkin, and Kyle Johnson. For a grand total of 6 of our 11 seats. Thank you all very much for flexing your schedules so we could have this important discussion in time for the select board to respond to it this summer. I think after their meeting tomorrow, they won't meet again until late August. So with that, I will call this meeting of the Climate Action Planning Committee to order. It is 6:04 p.m. And I have a couple smaller items at the beginning. I wasn't sure. I mean, I think we need to vote on committee officers again, since we're starting a new term.
To that effect, if I may, Mr. Chairman, I would nominate Alex Hasha continue service as chair of the Climate Action Planning Committee.
Okay, so Arthur Doyle has moved and Ron has seconded. And I just wanted to comment that I think we should revisit this when we have a full complement of members. And so I fully intend to do that. Is there any discussion from folks online?
Nobody better but you.
Thank you, sir.
I'm sorry. I mean that in a complimentary way, not like a you're last man standing. You're doing a great job, Alex. You really are. So thanks for your leadership and fully endorse the nomination.
Yes. I do sometimes dream of being supplanted. So then let's move to a vote. Arthur?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Stephen?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Kyle?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, so we've selected a chair. I think we've been doing without a secretary. If anybody would like to step forward into that role, you're more than welcome to do so now, or we could table it for the future. Yeah. All right. I've been making do with transcripts and AI relatively easily. So that brings us to our next agenda item, which is voting to approve the May meeting minutes. That's the last time that we had a formal meeting. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes from May? If there are no corrections or any corrections, if there are no corrections, I'll entertain a motion to approve them.
Move to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
All right, we'll say it moves and Ron, you're seconding again. Great. All in favor? Do a roll call, hand vote on that one. Great, really passed unanimously. Very nice. Okay, now let's get to the meat of our meeting. So I'll just recap the context setting I've done by email for the public audience. I gave our report to the select board at their July 8th meeting. Basically updating them on the work we've done to reach a complete draft of the climate action plan over the last 6 to 8 months, and update our sort of key recommendations with a strong emphasis on recommending that the town pursue climate leader communities certification, which we discussed in our last meeting. It provides several sort of near-term actions which are very tangible. there will be an opportunity to sort of start building that muscle around implementing the climate action plan. And really crucially, qualifying for climate leader certification would make the town eligible for significant grant funding under the Climate Leader Communities Program, which is administered by the Department of Energy Resources. The select board was really receptive and interested in that recommendation. There was a robust discussion afterwards, like in the meeting. And they suggested that our committee bring an article to the fall special town meeting to make sure that, town meeting members are aware of the work that this committee is doing, and that we, start getting that buy-in for implementation of the climate action plan. So there wasn't a lot of specific guidance given in that meeting on what the contents of the article should be. We discussed a few different options. And subsequently, I've circulated 2 alternate drafts for an article for us to discuss tonight, and revise and finalize together. At their most recent meeting, the select board communicated that they want our committee to finalize an article, vote to approve it, and send it to them. And then they will put it on the warrant. The deadline for submitting articles is August 8th. But the benefit of doing it tonight is that they're meeting tomorrow morning, and discussion of various articles is on their agenda, including this one. So if we have an approved article in front of them for tomorrow morning and they have feedback or concerns or anything they want changed, we have an opportunity to address that one more time before we run out of time. And I think there's a lot of value. Every article receives a lot of scrutiny from the warrant committee and from stakeholders in town. There's many months of making the case for this in front of us. So any thinking we do now to bring forward a well-considered article that won't be easy to punch holes in, where we can speak to the rationale clearly and effectively, will make our lives much easier between now and October. Is it in October? October.
That will be,
All right.
and I'll let you.
So, should we focus our discussion on the second draft or the first draft? I'm going to put one of them up on the screen.
Yeah, I need your consent.
Yeah. Any opinions online?
No, we're gonna look at them both, right?
Yeah. So one of them is going to be up on the screen as kind of the baseline, and I'm going to do. The second draft. Okay. And I will put the link to it in the Zoom chat. Oops, that's not that. Okay. All right, discussion.
Before we get into this, can you just clarify, at least for me, some schools are the process for actually becoming a Green Climate Leader Committee? What do we have to do?
Great question. Okay. You make this bigger. Okay. So there are 6 eligibility requirements. Milton has completed 3 of them at this time. One of them was the specialized stretch energy code, which we helped shepherd through town meeting in 2024. And actually, I think for many communities, that's the biggest lift on this list. So having already done that is a exciting momentum. The remaining eligibility requirements are 4 to commit to eliminating on-site fossil fuel use by the municipality by 2050.
And who makes that commitment?
I've talked to a variety of other towns and to our liaison of the Department of Energy Resources, whose name is Dylan Patel. There's a number of ways to do this. Most towns have adopted a net zero goal at town meeting or through their town council, and that's the evidence that they submit. I'll just be upfront that another option is to submit the climate action plan itself. And Dylan Patel's already taken a look at it and said that it would probably meet this requirement. I'm loath to choose that compliance pathway because it's not the only goal here. I think I'm actually surprised that they would accept a draft climate action plan that hasn't been approved by any elected body in Milton, completely prepared by volunteers with 0 budget. And limited participation from town staff, that they would consider that a commitment.
So the alternative to that is that the select board approves them?
Yeah, so a select board resolution might work. My intention is that this town meeting article will pass and will be
I see.
and will be the evidence that
Agreed.
that constitutes a commitment. Because even if they would accept a very weak commitment, I'm not as interested in that. I would like something that's been and qualifies as a mandate from elected representatives. Number 5 is completing a municipal decarbonization roadmap study. And this is basically is a fairly well-defined process, and the Department of Energy Resources provides like tools and templates and grants for money doesn't even have to change hands, but there's like a grant application and they'll set you up with a consultant who will take you through this, and that's before climate leader community certification.
How long does that take?
I'm not sure, but not a terribly long time. It's an exercise in working with the data that we already, as a green community, we already do a fair amount of reporting on our building assets and our vehicle assets and their energy consumption and their fuel consumption. The same data that we used to do our greenhouse gas inventory would be applied to this. And this roadmap is basically looking at, where's your HVAC equipment? How old is it? When do you expect it to be replaced? What are the sort of trigger events? Like there's a well-defined process for that, which aligns pretty heavily with one of our top recommendations to the select board, which is to build out a roadmap of when sort of key building retrofits would ideally happen and start incorporating that in capital planning. Now, just completing that study, I don't think includes the capital planning part of it, but it's certainly a good start. And then finally, adopting a zero emission vehicle first policy. Now, as a green community, I think Milton already has vehicle policies which favor high fuel efficiency in hybrid vehicles. This would sort of extend that hierarchy and put battery electric and hybrid battery electric, plug-in hybrid electric vehicles kind of at the top of that hierarchy.
Who
And-
has
and-
the
sorry.
vehicle first policy?
Yes, Matt?
Sorry, I was going to let Ron finish.
Mhm.
I just have a question about number 6.
Yes.
Who does the, who adopts the policy?
So I've talked to several sustainability directors in other towns, and it's usually like the town executives. So I think the select board would do it. At some point.
So theoretically, we could do all this by the end of the year.
Maybe. I think it'll be a function of bandwidth.
Question, Alex, on number 5, is that actually have to be done? To meet the eligibility requirements, so is it like number 4 that the town commits to completing? Municipal.
The study needs to be done,
It has to be
yes, but
completed.
that, it doesn't involve actually doing any retrofits. It doesn't involve doing any energy projects physically. It's just a plan.
Okay. But it has to be completed,
It has to be completed.
okay, I'm just thinking.
Alex, my
Yes.
question was about number 4, 5, and 6 on this list. Both drafts of the article have these 3 to-dos built into them, correct?
No, the first one does not mention the zero emission vehicle first policy explicitly.
Okay,
And it doesn't meant the decarbonization roadmap study explicitly either. It only mentions committing to eliminate on-site fossil fuel use by 2050.
okay, all right. Thank you for that.
Get to my concerns about, our version 2 versus version 1. My intention for this article is that it be an advisory, non-binding resolution, right? I'm not interested in sort of putting Milton in some sort of legal straitjacket where if the federal government is successful in making all these technologies exorbitantly expensive and unavailable, that Milton would have to pay 5, 6, 7 times as much because of this article. I don't think that Milton can sort of go it alone against the rest of the world if and fight the trends. But what I do hope the outcome is that it's a real symbolic commitment that town wants this done, and they want the town staff to make a good faith effort to make it work. Right? There's a lot of funding out there. Climate leader certification would provide access to significant sums of money. And it's just, I think, good governance, right? If you can get a $1 million grant to support installing heat pumps in a school renovation, as opposed to having to go it alone to install new natural gas equipment, it probably is a good bet for the town to take the $1 million. They're competitive technologies.
Sure.
So my concern with listing all 3 of these explicitly in the article, I've used such as, like, I'm not trying to make these hard requirements in the language that I use, but I know that by having them there, I'm inviting withering scrutiny about the cost of each one of them. From the warrant committee. I mean, they should be asking those questions anyway, and I'm sure we'll get into it anyway. So let's say not the warrant committee, but actually on town meeting floor, we'll probably have to spend more time discussing each of those.
Okay.
But,
Second,
front two,
Gus,
what we're talking about, so.
sorry.
ahead.
Second question was about the grants. Are they limited? So as an example, we keep kind of circling this concept of a sustainability director either exclusively for Milton or shared. Is the grant funding broad enough where we could use it to hire somebody?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
I think there are two kinds of grants. There are technical assistance and planning grants up to $150,000
Yeah.
for doing the preparatory work for a construction project.
Yeah.
Actually, list. Let me not make stuff up.
Yeah, I'm just trying to work around for what I think we all agree, which is somebody on staff, on downtown staff, that can help us drive the plan broadly. And if the
So
grant
we
funding's
did get a Mass Save Energy Manager grant, and that job listing is posted and has people applying.
oh, okay,
Um,
great.
So we will be getting some staff bandwidth focused in this general area.
Oh, great.
Yeah,
When did that happen?
what they can be used for. So there's to support all or portion of the cost of implementing energy efficiency projects, procuring energy management services, okay. Adopting energy efficiency policies and siting activities related to construction of renewable energy generating facilities. So my sort of high level understanding is the $1 million grants are primarily for construction projects.
Okay.
You're gonna build something. Or retrofit something. And it's not $1 million one time. I think it's sort of like the Mass Save program where they set up a program and kind of renew it every 3 years. So I think that's how this will run in 3-year cycles. And so a climate leader community would be eligible to apply for the $1 million grant once every cycle.
Okay.
Any other questions? So let me speak to the changes I made from version 1 to version 2 and why I made them. Again, thanks all of you for your feedback. And I'd say the repeating themes I heard in the feedback were, let me get it. So there was some competing feedback. Some folks, mostly not on the committee, but folks in my sort of allies network, expressed concern that a commitment to eliminate fossil fuel use by 2050 at municipal buildings sounds scary, and might get some pushback. And from the committee, mostly feedback that the emphasis on achieving climate leader certification and the funding that it would open up and the eligibility requirements to get us there should be laid out more explicitly in the article. I decided to go in that direction rather than weakening claims, because I think we can explain what we're trying to do here. If I think that somebody who's got a fiduciary duty to the town absolutely should express concern about the worst case costs of meeting these goals. There's just no way in the present environment to have certainty about it. I do think there is an optimistic case to be made, and it'll be our job to make it. That there's really a good chance with the way the, you know, renewable energy technologies, cost curves are bending, and the investments that are being made in Massachusetts, and the efforts being made by the state government to make these pathways viable, that with creativity, and some moral commitment to it, that we can achieve these goals. If not right on time, then, you know, sooner than if we never start, right? But to pretend like there isn't you know, a more negative trajectory this could take, where this becomes more or less impossible. I can't stand in front of anybody and honestly say that I know that won't happen, right? So I don't want the town to be sort of tied to this in that scenario. And I really can't imagine that any town meeting article could possibly, you know, if we were looking at paying 3x the normal cost on, you know, fleet and building maintenance, then a future town meeting would just come back and what make this go away, right? So that's not the intention here, and I do think better to be upfront and sort of lay out the next few things we really hope will happen in the article, and then we can answer those questions as they come up. So that was that choice. There's also
Would it, Alex, would it get you the same place though if you nested it under the bullet points? It's really just, you know, strategy than it is really anything else. I mean, this is one of the requirements of a climate leader community certification, where you've kind of bundled the other ones. Does it belong down there?
where would you put it? I'm not sure I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, sorry. So including a goal to eliminate on-site fossil fuel use by the town by 2050. Again, maybe I misread that slide you just showed on climate leader communities. That is one of the requirements, correct? To eliminate fossil
Yeah.
fuel use. Yes.
Yeah, so the organization I've got here is that if the town will vote to do two things, and the first thing is adopt goals. And so because
Yep.
the eliminating on-site fossil fuel use by 2050 is a goal, I put it up here. And direct the select board to three things, rather, and measure progress towards those goals. And then authorize the select board to, you know, in their role as the sort of executive leaders of the town, to direct town human resources and financial resources towards achieving these goals. But here my aim was to not be quite so prescriptive, right? So prescriptive about what the goal should be, not prescriptive about how to pursue them, but providing a recommendation. That's why I say such as.
Mhm.
You know, and there's a clarity trade-off here, right? The more words we have in this article, the more energy we're going to have to spend explaining all of it to many, many different people. And an alternate outcome, Kyle, I see your hand raised, and I will try to stop talking imminently. An alternative would be to kind of save these details for our warrant committee presentation, and hope that they are sold and they incorporate it in their recommendation to town meeting. Because what will ultimately happen is our article, we put on the warrant, then it goes to the warrant committee. We'll have an opportunity to sit down with them and, you know, give a presentation, have a discussion. For the building code, I did that twice. And then they write a detailed recommendation with their research and findings. if they're supporting their article, they'd probably be more than willing to include any rationale that we help write. If they don't, then they won't include our perspective. And then at town meeting, we can also request to make a presentation directly to town meeting members with our rationale, and it could be there as well. So it does not have to be in the article. But putting it in the article ensures that town meeting members will see it. Kyle.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, a couple thoughts in that spirit of keeping the language reduced. One one idea is, I think, let's see, instead of basically support reduction of greenhouse gas emissions from both public and private, would it make sense to just say to achieve the aforementioned goals, something like that? Or do you see that as a separate thought? It's in some ways similar to our report, bifurcating between goals and strategies, but without needing to repeat the goal again in that paragraph.
Are you suggesting deleting through here or through here?
Well, that was my second idea. The first was just the former was my first suggestion. Um, Simply to replace that with the goals that are referenced above, however we want to refer back to those. But then to your point you were making a moment ago about the strategies, I wonder about deleting the bullet points and just mentioning the recommendations in our action plan.
Sorry, could you say that one more time?
Yeah. So if we were to delete those bullet points, would it make sense to say, simply say, such as those laid out in the action plan? So it sort of points to the action plan for looking for those specific strategies. But unless you think it's helpful to have the specific strategies written here in terms of our town standing.
So it would be such as those recommended in Milton's climate action plan,
Mhm.
like that.
Yep. What I'm wondering. I'm not entirely sold on that, but I'm just raising whether that accomplishes what we want or not.
We're just discussing options at this point. Steve?
Yeah, maybe I have a different view of things. One, if we're pointing them to the plan, that's a whole bunch of words that people may read and have a lot of feedback on. Not that we should hide it, but because of that, I am more in favor of adding a little more words here or keeping words here so people understand. People read the front part and say, okay, well, what does that really mean for the town? What does that cost? I don't understand. And so if people don't understand it, they may not want it, or they may get concerned, or they may, ask a whole bunch of questions or feel that we're not being fully transparent. So I'm more in favor of in this article saying, here's the goals, here's some strategies that the town may adopt or consider in achieving those goals. And if you want more information, we've thought about it. You can look at this document. So I'm more in favor of that approach, trying to be pretty open about, we have these goals and there's ways of achieving them. And in fact, there's a benefit to the town in the end. We'll get more money or whatever to do more good stuff in this area.
So just to clarify, that all made a lot of sense to me. First thing you said was referencing the climate action plan invites people to go take a look at it and go, whoa, that's a lot of stuff. Were you suggesting that we not mention it, or that we do mention it because that's really what's going on here and we might as well have that conversation?
I think, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Project, like uncertainty under what do you even mean?
Yeah, I guess I was thinking that if we add enough context here so people understand what we're talking about, they'll get the idea and feel okay about it. The people, we can't hide the document that we developed. We want people who are really that interested to look at it. So I think we have to reference it regardless. But I think we'll add more trust and transparency by saying a little bit more about, what are the goals and what are the ways of achieving it and the benefits in this, rather than just saying, here's some goals and, oh, here's this other document over here.
So you were recommending referencing the climate action plan and keeping these bullet points.
Yeah, I think we have to, or at least we have to acknowledge that it exists. I mean, it's the basis for this entire effort, right?
Because that was one of the changes from version 1 to version 2. Version 1 had a sub item to implement measures such as those identified in Milton's climate action plan to accelerate greenhouse gas emission reductions. And I took it out in this one.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's how you reference it in a footnote or something, but I think not referencing it is, we put a year plus of work into this and people should be aware of it.
Yeah, I mean, this is absolutely an opportunity to raise awareness of the climate action plan and that it exists, that work has gone into it. Arthur, you were going to say something?
I just wanted to say that my mind was going to where you came out in this discussion, including adding the word including, that you just posted and reposted it. I wanted to go back to, I think it was Matt's earlier point, where he was talking about including a goal to eliminate on-site fossil fuel by the town by 2050. Could we come to a conclusion as to whether that will remain as a standalone where it is, or be incorporated in the bullets at the toward the bottom of the proposed article?
Thanks, Arthur. That's why my hand is raised. I mean, it's one of the four that we still need to do as part of climate leader community certification, as are the other two in the bullets. I can't see the whole screen here, but the bullet points basically developing roadmap is still work to be done for community leadership or climate leader community certification, as is adopt a zero emission vehicle first policy, as is eliminating on-site fossil fuels by 2050. All of those are work to be done under the climate leader community certification.
Yeah, so let me try to manifest what you just recommended. Oh, this is so unreadable. Oh no.
Undo is my favorite button.
Well, yeah, so basically I was thinking of taking this first bullet point and incorporating it up into this sentence. We would achieve those goals mentioned above through actions such as those recommended in Milton's climate action plan, and with an emphasis on working to achieve climate leader community certification, which requires, and then.
Sorry, Alex, this may simplify or blow your mind, but the idea of referencing the climate action plan feels like part of the section above. In other words, you've got the state requirements, then you go to and direct the select board to measure progress towards these goals, as captured, as recommended in Milton's climate action plan.
I don't know if I would tie it to goal progress measurement more than I would tie it to the sort of authorization for implementation.
Yeah, it just feels like the cap feels part of the state requirements, and a subset of that are the climate leader.
There's nothing in that state law which requires Milton to have a climate action plan. This climate leader community certification is really the mechanism by which the state is incentivizing towns to produce them.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I'm also just trying to figure out where to reference the cap so that it is, within the article, but doesn't necessarily confuse people on the certification that we're after. Anyways, you guys discuss. It's all here. I think it's just a question of formatting and sequencing.
One more thing I feel I should mention. The sort of, I got feedback on the first article draft from Nick Milano, and it was very briefly discussed at the last select board meeting. He said that it generally aligned with what the select board had asked for, and sort of high level approving of it. The one piece of specific feedback he sent me was questioning whether the 2030 goal was realistic and if it should be struck from the article to focus on 2040 and 2050. I don't think that's a good idea. I mean, I share concerns that the 2030 goal will be hard to meet, but there's a difference between goals and predictions of the future.
Say that's 2030 goal.
Yeah, and the 2030 goal is in Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 21N, Section 4H, right? So I'm referencing the law, and I think it makes sense to keep the targets that are in the law and the article. But I just wanted to be transparent that we received that recommendation.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah,
We can't hide it.
yeah,
That would be unfair. Somebody's likely to catch us up on its omission. And who's erudite with this. And the state may change it.
Yeah.
well, right, that's why I said in alignment with the limits set by Massachusetts law, which are currently.
Correct. Nice wording.
Because I think, things change.
Yeah.
Where are we now? How close to 50 are we?
It's not as bad as you would think. Because there's been really significant emission reductions from 1990 levels. I think 37, 38%. But that's just me pulling numbers out of the closet of my mind. I also know that the state does not consider itself on track to meet this first limit. But so, I think that again, it comes back to the, what outcomes do we want? We don't want the town to be shooting itself in the foot if the state and the world are not on track to meet these goals in 2030. What we want is to go from almost no attention being paid to this operationally to some effort being made to focus on it and bring in resources to make progress on it, right? I mean, we're really talking about just getting the ball rolling. And I think that there will be fears that it will become a slippery slope and the ball will start rolling out of control, but I really don't think that's the town we're living in. So anyway.
One thought that has come to mind is maybe we should consider so one consideration is whether we should mention the action plan at all, given that it's technically not formally completed yet. In the sense that there could be the criticism that we're making recommendations based on something that hasn't like fully finished its democratic process of being finalized.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I have from the very beginning of working on this been unclear about what that finalization process will be. I'm not aware of towns that have actually passed a town meeting article like endorsing the climate action plan as written. And the idea of getting 350 town meeting members to like read it carefully and endorse it, every word of it seems insane, right? Like people would only do that for partisan reasons, right? So I think it's better to think of it as a living document with a process attached to it for keeping it relevant and up to date. But yeah, I don't know if there's folks in this group who have actually had a sort of something like the master plan or like know what process caused the master plan to be official. I think the town meeting article actually, it didn't endorse the plan, it created a committee to steward the plan. Isn't that right? And gave it a budget. So
My guess, the way I had been thinking about it, is that it would be at the very least, it would be um, this, especially now if we say we're entering or we're in the middle of our feedback phase, it would be this committee saying we've received the feedback, we've revised, and we're quote unquote done for this point. And maybe, and I don't know if that would include um, submitting it to the select board and the select board saying, yes, we have received a final or a first final um, plan. But that's what I had in the back of my mind as thinking of sort of the trajectory, but I may have just made that up. Well, I know I made that up.
yeah, my feeling is I haven't seen the benefit of declaring it complete or final because people get really upset to find out that there's a finalized plan that they didn't have any input into. And so why project completion on it when it doesn't feel, it doesn't seem complete to us either, right? I think what we want is more engagement. And what we want is not to spend 5 more years, on a sort of process-oriented planning exercise rather than doing something. So I don't see any reason why a plan needs to be like perfectly formatted and voted upon before it starts becoming the basis for some creative action. So yeah, in the interest of time, let's try to turn this into something that we could
That bullet needs a home. The eliminate fossil fuel use is struck from above, but does not show up yet. Yeah.
So if I was going to use the wording that's in the climate leader community's certification was commit to eliminating on-site fossil fuel use by the 2050.
Yeah.
I really struggle over this word commit. Um. 'Cause I think it raises specters of MBTA.
Yeah.
It's a strong word. When I talk to towns that have made this commitment, I don't hear any evidence that their commitment is any stronger than what I'm suggesting. There's a commitment to try. I don't understand what it would mean to commit in a binding way in the world we live in to an outcome that is under no one's direct control.
Does the plan have
Right.
strategies, Alex, the climate action plan to support these? So eliminating on-site fossil fuel by 2050. If I were to look at the plan, would I find 3 or 4 goals and strategies that support that?
Yeah, you would. I mean,
Yeah.
it's electrification. It's- One of our strategies is doing this roadmap study for
Yeah.
town buildings. People's.
Yeah.
It's pursuing pursuing funding to make it financially feasible. Or fiscally responsible. I think, are people happy with me dropping
Yeah.
fiscally responsible in there? I think that will smooth some feathers. That just so they understand that we also think that's important. So let me
Yeah, that may, in some people's eyes, suggest that you're not being that already.
well, we're not pursuing actions,
No, and
investments and policies to achieve those goals already.
I'd probably say fiscally responsible actions.
Well,
do-
people view this as an authorization to spend triple on a new school to make it green.
I see how you're, okay.
So I think I want to make people more comfortable that we're not saying that we're making an unlimited financial commitment. We're just committing to best efforts to achieve these goals in the real world, which requires them to be fiscally responsible. And we can clarify that as needed. So let me see. Including working to achieve later uses. This is such a long sentence. I'll just keep going. Oh geez. I hate this sentence very much. Okay, so I like most of these edits. Except for this sentence, which needs some work. Oh, yeah. I'm just. Something like this. This is basically the idea. We can work something. Yeah, so I liked the recommendation to sort of group this goal to eliminate fossil fuel use with the climate leader community certification requirements for clarity.
Yeah, that gives it a home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that this support reduction of greenhouse gas emissions from both public and private sources, that was redundant. Was just a straightforward simplification, which I like. Oh, actually though, that sentence did add, and increase the town's resilience to the detrimental effects of climate change. So that was another piece of feedback I got from several people, that should we mention resilience? And that's where I mentioned it. So actually, we are losing something with this edit. But I could put it back. Okay, can I get a vibe check? Do people feel like this is heading in a positive direction?
Oh, for sure.
Anybody not feel that way? Everybody's got that, I'm editing a
Yep.
document in the committee look on their face, but that's not necessarily negative, right?
Yeah, no, it's not negative. I just when you accept all those changes, I wonder if it's all going to fit together.
Oh, me
S-
too.
yeah, I mean, the
Did
town
I,
resilience. So right where your cursor is, you
yeah,
then
this
go
sentence,
to such as those recommended. I'm not sure that that sentence is going to make sense once you accept all of those changes.
oh, it's most terrible. Yeah, it's the world's longest run-on sentence.
No, I don't think that it's the run-on so much as it is you've got two thoughts there.
So maybe there's two
Um,
sentences.
Mhm.
yeah, it's almost like you've finished your thought there where your cursor is, and then you've got kind of a second thought, which is
Yeah,
about recommendations in Milton's climate action plan. In other words, you're going to do this stuff. The good news is that we've got some recommendations in the cap, one of which is to go for climate leader certification. Feels like two separate thoughts.
it absolutely does. Should I accept these changes so that we can sort of decrease the visual and mental load
Please,
and make the
please,
Yeah.
please for me.
yes for you? Anybody else not want me to do that? Okay. Accept. We're gonna do some coding. Sorry. Okay. Period. Any suggestions on how to begin the sentence? Um, there's really three ideas here.
So. So you wanna go, effects of climate change such as those mentioned in Milton's climate action plan, period. I think,
Well, no, I'm not referencing the climate action plan as a reference for what are the detrimental effects of climate change. I'm referencing Milton's climate action plan as a repository of fiscally responsible actions, investments, and policies to achieve these goals.
yeah.
There you go. Let's do this. Write that.
I was just finishing the line and suggesting a period after plan. And maybe the beginning of the second
But there's a
sentence.
period here. I think this sentence is done.
Yeah.
Do you want to, can you speak the sentence you have in mind?
or you could say to achieve the goals mentioned above. And those included in Milton's climate action plan. As well as increase the town's resilience.
Yeah, I'm still wanting to
Accomplish it.
reference Milton's climate action plan in the context of what are these actions, investments and policies and not as a reference for more goals. They would say, and there's like tables and tables of additional goals in there, which
Yeah.
is true. But all of those goals were are sort of meant as milestones on the road to achieving these goals that are here. So I really want to reference the climate action plan as a potential set of actions, investments, and policies. Recommends many such policies. Particular.
There you go.
That the town, I think that's the work to achieve. All right, so let me read this out loud now. And authorize the select board to direct relevant boards, committees, and departments to proactively pursue fiscally responsible actions, investments, and policies to achieve the goals mentioned above and increase the town's resilience to the detrimental effects of climate change. Milton's climate action plan recommends many such policies, in particular that the town work to achieve climate leader community certification by the Department of Energy Resources and access the associated grant opportunities to fund energy projects.
Yeah. Works for me. Do you put draft after climate action plan, just picking up on Kyle's thought that we don't want people to think that the cake is baked?
There.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean, to contradict myself, I'm not sure if putting draft, since like this will be in the bylaws and at some point it will not be a draft.
Bylaw, so I know, I had a brief. I know that one thing the warrant committee often gets concerned about is like when they get a select board article is, has town council looked at this? And there's been no time for town council to look at this. But I do hope that that'll happen. Before it's sort of set in stone. But my understanding, this is, we're not creating a bylaw, right? Because a lot of town meeting articles that create a bylaw, will begin that the town vote to amend the bylaws, you know, here to insert law or change.
That requires a period forward for
Oh,
town.
does it? Okay.
Bylaw change,
So this is an advisory
Right.
resolution.
majority vote.
Mhm. With also, budget allocations, right, or majority.
It depends upon what they ask. Right here, we're not, in this article today, we're not asking for funding.
We're not, no.
No.
So I'm taking us off track a little bit. But so yeah, this will not be in the bylaws, but it will be in the town meeting. Archives, I would. Probably not include draft. So I don't wanna. Invite a bunch of discussion about draft versus not draft, but. Yeah, I don't know whether it'll make people more comfortable or less, raise more questions, I don't.
Yeah, I tend to agree with not saying draft.
But
What was that?
Milton's climate action plan. Sorry, Kyle, go ahead. I lost my train of thought.
No, that was it. My general thought is not to use it, but
I'd agree.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Do we give them cover by essentially saying that the plan was developed by the Climate Action Planning Committee? In other words, select board is like,
I feel like every word in this paragraph, we're sort of transgressing on
yeah, okay. Yeah.
providing a lot of rationale, and sort of non-binding, context. So I would rather, we will definitely put that in our presentation.
Yeah.
And I know another trigger for the warrant committee is, being like, well, we've been working on this a long time. It's like, well, it still has to be good. So how long we've worked on it is, should speak for itself, let's say.
Yeah.
It's never going to be perfect.
Right. Um. This. Yeah, this is still, an awkward sentence, right? Because you could say, achieve climate leader community certification, whose remaining requirements are, and that kind of flows. That if you go achieve climate leader community certification, and access associated grant opportunities to fund energy projects, whose remaining requirements are, then the subject gets lost. Maybe it's a third sentence. Do you prefer requirements or eligibility criteria?
Requirements, aren't they requirements?
It has more teeth.
The remaining, or climate leader community certification. What do folks think of this? Let me read it again. And authorize the select board to direct relevant boards, committees, and departments to proactively pursue fiscally responsible actions, investments, and policies to achieve the goals mentioned above and increase the town's resilience to the detrimental effects of climate change. Milton's climate action plan recommends many such policies, in particular, that the town work to achieve climate leader community certification by the Department of Energy Resources and assess and access the associated grant opportunities, maybe to fund energy projects to develop. The remaining requirements for climate leader community certification are commit to eliminating on-site fossil fuel use by the town by 2050, develop a roadmap for decarbonizing municipal operations, adopt a zero emission vehicle first policy for new town vehicles when commercially available and practicable, and to act on anything relating thereto. That Nick Milano added that. I think that's a town meeting norm. Somebody can ask. All right, how are people feeling?
Good.
yeah.
Let me accept these so people can.
Alex, how long is the certification good for as long as we are delivering on the eligibility requirements? Or is that 5 years mentioned above specific to
It's not, no,
certification?
I
Okay.
threw that in. It's not required by climate leader communities, that I know of. And so no, I don't know the answer to your question. I wouldn't assume that there are no ongoing eligibility requirements. There's an annual reporting requirement for green communities, I imagine. There will be something here as well.
Okay,
But no,
the five,
I
the five,
added in, go ahead.
yeah, sorry about that. What is the reason for the 5 years?
I personally believe, just from my professional experience, a goal without
Yeah.
measurement doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And it actually costs something to do a greenhouse gas emissions inventory, and I want so if somebody said what what costs are you like really committing to in this, I would
Yeah.
really say about $50,000 every 5 years
Yeah.
for a greenhouse inventory.
Okay.
It can be done more cheaply because I used to work in a carbon accounting software as a service company. Like I actually know quite a bit about doing greenhouse gas emissions inventories. I mean, ideally, you get a sort of sustainability consultant who's delivered a lot of greenhouse gas protocol compliant emissions inventories before to do it, but we're not explicitly saying it has to be that way. So
Okay.
just updating with a spreadsheet tool might be okay as well.
Gotcha.
So you want a motion to adopt?
I would accept one.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second?
Seconded. I will second.
Okay. So I can move just for the,
Is there a link to the plan in the document or no?
it's going to be printed.
As some
I don't,
stuff in the.
I will put a link in the document that we submit. I don't think we can.
You can put a web address.
Easy way for us to include a link in the materials that town meeting members will receive, yeah. I'd like to leave it out for now.
Okay.
We can figure out how to make that accessible to people between now and October. And if you Google, you'll find it, right? So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I mean, you're not gonna hurt my feelings if you really rather keep editing. Okay, let's move to a vote then. Arthur,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
Stephen,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Kyle,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Great. So we have voted to adopt this article language to submit to the select board. I will forward it to them this evening and be interested to hear what feedback they have for us in their meeting tomorrow morning, which is actually at 8 a.m. I've never seen a morning select board meeting before, so that I noticed that the last minute. It's 8 a.m. tomorrow. Okay, thank you guys. That was awesome.
Well led, Alex. Thanks for your leadership here.
Now
This
there's
is important. It puts us
Yeah,
put tangible steps towards what we all want here. So this is I think a big moment for us as a committee. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Yeah, I'm not good at pausing to celebrate, so I appreciate you
Yeah.
doing that. And there's one more item on the agenda, which is a vote on the letter in support of HG 1619 that Arthur submitted for our consideration really quite some time ago.
We've had this on the agenda a couple of times, but for the absence of a quorum, I think we've
Yes.
had to defer it. It's been explained. It's essentially an endorsement by the Climate Action Planning Committee that would be sent to Milton's 3 state representatives, 1 in the Senate and 2 in the House, endorsing an act that accelerates wetlands restoration. At the present time, there are a multiple number of state agencies that are involved with the coastal zone management, the Department of Environmental Protection, the Water Conservation Commission, etc. And this act would bring together the permitting processes for wetlands restorations, both in the saltwater arena along the Neponset River and freshwater environments into a collapsed period of time. So that's something that might have taken previously or currently even 2 years in permitting would be greatly shortened so that the work can get underway relative to the influences that we have from climate change and other forces in our environment.
Permitting what?
Permitting, for example, restoration of wetlands, protection of the wetlands, putting runnels in, for example, in our salt marshes down along the onset, that would give them life. And that's a particularly vulnerable area for us in Milton. We have 33 acres down there that are town-owned land, in addition to the vast expanse that's under the responsibility of the Department of Conservation and Recreation. And one of the vulnerabilities that we have is that for 2 centuries, the Baker Dam and also the Tilliston Hollingsworth Dam further upstream have prevented silt from coming down and nourishing those salt marshes. So we have to look at every possible way that we have to protect those and restore them for all the benefits that they bring to the environment. A salt marsh, 1 acre of a salt marsh will absorb greenhouse gases at 10 times the rate of 1 acre of mature woodland. I've been down there in July, and you go out into the salt marsh on a 90-degree day, something like today, and you feel like it's 150 degrees out there. You can just feel it drawing in the heat and absorbing it. The last time I was there under that environment, there was another person with me, and they actually had to leave the marsh. They couldn't take the draw of the heat.
But you toughed it out, Arthur.
You toughed it out.
But you didn't leave. You were the last man standing.
That extreme.
Just a quick question. So the EPA Superfund project to remediate
The
toxic sediment, I think their plan was to remove the Tillings and Hollingsworth,
Tilliston Hollingsworth
Tilliston and Hollingsworth Dam, but not the Baker Dam.
not the Baker Dam at the present time, right?
Yeah. This is just my curiosity. So is there any question or discussion of this particular letter? Thank you for
Pleasure. Thank you for your
clear
consideration.
Worded?
you have a second? Anybody want to second the motion to support this letter?
Second,
All right, Steve, Ron has moved to endorse the letter. Steve has seconded the motion. Do you want a roll call vote? Okay.
You should.
Okay. Arthur,
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Steve,
yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Kyle,
Yes.
and I vote yes. So we, you can edit that and send it off on our behalf. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Arthur.
And with that, we've come to the end of our business. I want to thank you all again for really focused and engaged discussion. I don't think I ever had as good an experience editing a document in a meeting. As that, so it exceeded my expectations. Thanks for the preparation and the feedback, over a very compressed time period, but I think we'll be happy that we got this done in time for the select board to respond to it. Yeah, we might have to come back and respond to their feedback between now and August 8th, and we'll see. So.
That went very well. I've been in situations where pistols have been loaded and knives sharpened.
Well, that'll happen later. So, with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move.
On moves to adjourn. Nat, are you seconding?
I'll second.
Yes, and all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Let the record show no one was opposed. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night, thank
Good night,
you.
all.
All right, thank you.
Good night, everyone.